In part one of this 4-part series, we explored the marriage of Allison and John Paul Miller and how it intersected with Mica Francis. In part two, we covered the tragic death of Mica Miller and delved into the tumultuous relationship she had with her husband, Pastor John Paul Miller. In today's part three, we are going to look at some of the information out there that conflicts with the official ruling of Mica's death as a suicide.
If ever your life could be a true crime podcast episode, then this podcast is for you. We're about to embark on a roller coaster of emotions, insights, survival, and stories about escape. So buckle up and let the journey begin.
Hey everybody, welcome back into the Escape Pod. I'm Julie.
I'm Charity. Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Happy spring. You look very floral and springy today. And
We were just outside. If we could record outside.
Hey, you know what? There is a podcast, but outside. Have you heard of that one? It was the only reason I know about it is because my son, who's the musician behind the Escape Pod, submitted a theme song for the Escape Pod, but outside, and got picked. So his original music was on their podcast also. So that was his first podcast.
Cool.
We're his second one.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I forgive him.
So yeah, there's one. They just take it out to the street, sit on the sidewalk, they talk to people, and it's pretty comical, actually.
Well, in the middle of January, I would be opposed to that plan, but right now it is lovely.
It is lovely
outside. Yeah. What are you escaping today?
Oh, how long do we have?
Only 30 seconds.
Blurry contacts, revenue models that are putting my brain into loops that just they cannot escape. I actually had a conference call today with our evaluator because he's like really smart with,
yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, maybe if we just talk this through out loud. And then he started doing the same thing I'm doing. I'm like, so it's not just me. It's just a really complicated model.
Oh.
But that's okay. We made progress. And then the big thing is, I'm sure you know, you have kids, you have a household, and you have work, and you have all these things to do and not enough time in the day to do them. Now imagine, and you probably can relate to this somewhat because of your uncles and whatnot, but now I'm caring for my mother-in-law and her whole household. Yeah. And it's like, I need to check something easily today, right? I should be able to just get into her bank account and look and answer the CPA and say, yep, nope, because codes are going to go to her freaking cell phone and her email, and I can't access those unless I'm with her. And so it just makes everything so much harder. And all these doctors, all the stuff, and it's a whole other life that we're helping manage. And I'm feeling like I'm just treading water and I'm starting to like short circuit. Yeah. And it's not helping the work situation any because work's really busy and then that's really busy. So I'm not getting any downtime. And it's starting to show. So with the eye, though, if I'm glaring at you or winking at you, I promise I'm not flirting or angry. I'm just, it's not you, it's me. So
I've heard that line before. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
I am escaping. I had a couple of things. One, very much a first world problem, but my phone updated and it is ticking me off. Things do not look the same. When you swipe, you have to swipe in certain places to get to the... Very first world problem. I am well aware. However, super annoying.
Well, it slows you down.
Super. Yeah.
It disrupts your flow, and you have things to do. So,
and my brain isn't processing the new look of things. I'm just like,
it's wrong. It's broken. Yeah.
Where'd that thing go? Where'd that app go? Anyway, I'll be okay. But oh my gosh, this is why I don't hate updates in general, because usually a lot of times they fix things.
Right.
But this was like a big one where it all looks different and I just can't. Onward and upward to continue our series about Mica Miller. So this is part 3. Take it away, my friend.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I have been, as you know, invested in this story for months. And I'm so embedded in it. And just like this one is there.
It's kind of eating at you.
Well, it's, I just want to see, I hope I can see this through, like that there's a true resolution in my lifetime. Because after we get through today, you, like me, may have an entirely different
Okay.
idea of maybe what happened to Mica, because, the 911 call we listened to last time, it does paint a certain picture, makes it just sound like, okay, matter of fact, this is what's going to happen next. But after today,
Okay.
yeah, ready?
Yep.
Okay, so just a quick recap. After filing for divorce and a no contact order, remember, Mica endured increasing harassment. She was being involuntarily committed to a mental hospital.
Yeah.
She found tracking devices on her car. And despite her attempts to escape, Mica was found dead with a gunshot wound, officially ruled as a suicide, only days after serving divorce papers.
Okay.
That is way too coincidental for me. Her husband's actions and sermons, as we covered last time, also paint a troubling picture, leaving many to question the true nature of her death.
Okay.
Quote, "I'm sorry for putting a picture of you on the internet," reads an apology email from John Paul to Mica. "It was for less than 1 hour and immediately taken down. I was hurt that you're telling everyone horrible, intimate details of my past sins, and I just wanted to try and hurt you. Please forgive me. It was evil of me to do that." So John Paul is admitting to posting a topless photo of Mica online before her death. So let's play that out for a second. If the stuff he was spewing in his sermons was true, and she was suffering genuine mental unwellness that didn't have anything to do with him, how is that going to help her?
Right.
Could you imagine? Think about that for a moment. If your husband did that to you right now, your life, your standing, your reputation in the community would be, you'd be mortified. Okay. It just pisses me off. And then watching videos of this jackass, like, there was one video I don't think I covered in here, but he's like, he thinks he's got all this stuff that he's going to vindicate himself and make Mica look bad. And he's just like egging people on. It just becomes I don't know. He does not seem like a grieving husband to me.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, this posting of this photo occurred within 2 weeks of her death. And this incident is what prompted Mica to send an affidavit to her attorney, which read in part, quote, "Since the day we became husband and wife, I have been abused in every way I can think of. Emotionally, sexually, spiritually, financially, and physically. He has harassed me physically and electronically with letters, phone calls, emails, and texts, hacking my emails, hacking my personal Facebook, impersonating me, using my stolen phone to send texts and emails out to church members pretending to be me, texting friends and family saying that I am sleeping with teenagers from our church, and showing up in person at places around town, to having also installed 3 different tracking devices on my vehicle."
Ridiculous.
Yeah. They've got to be looking into this guy. Her sister, I don't know if we've covered, she has several sisters. This is Sierra Francis, spelled the same way as my daughter, so I like it very much. She said about her sister's death, quote, "As soon as they got married, her behavior went downhill fast. She seemed to be more sad, more under control." I don't think she meant like, I'm under control. I think she meant under someone else's.
Somebody's
Yeah.
control. Yeah.
I
That's how I
believe-
interpreted it
yeah.
as well.
"I believe he compressed her," she said. He just sucked the life right out of her and caused her to go downhill. So after Mica's death, the family began pushing for investigators to look deeper, and they're hoping that some answers will be found on Mica's cell phone. So all of that's been turned over to law enforcement. One of her sisters said that JP had tried to convince Mica when she was a teenager. Remember, he met her when she was 15 or 10, depending on which report you believe.
Okay.
He was trying to convince her to leave her family and that he could find another household for her to live in. And that's that classic, like, culling from the herd,
Yes.
control, manipulative,
Yeah.
grooming, all of the things. In a previous police report, Mica stated that she had known her husband since she was 10 years old and that he had groomed her until they were married. And remember, she'd had a marriage in there, too, to his
Yes,
best friend,
correct.
Jeremy. Yeah.
Yep.
So the moment he met her, it was game on. And I
Yeah.
don't think it ever stopped until the day she died.
And there's no reason to think her family was dysfunctional in some way.
No, not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Because I was about to say, usually in a healthy relationship, you're melding families, right? Recognizing that, you're an exception to that. But I think your husband did try to be part of your family.
Oh, he did, yeah.
That relationship just tore apart later.
Yeah.
But like you were very much a part of his family.
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, it's in healthy relationships, that's often how it works.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So that's why if she didn't have some kind of dysfunction in her biological family, to be pulling her away seems odd.
Yeah.
That would be a red flag.
No, it's all coming from him, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
In another affidavit from her sister, one of her sisters, Sierra said Mica told her that she believed John Paul had hired someone to follow her. Remember how in the last episode she kept talking about, I think someone's following me. Of course, I think it was him, but it does appear that a private investigator was also following her. It also alleges that JP transferred the deed to their home to one of his sons from the marriage with Allison.
Okay.
And moved all of Micah's personal belongings from their home while she was on that 48-hour mental hold. So remember, he gets her committed. He goes to the hospital. He takes all her personal stuff, like her cell phone, her car keys, her ID, and then he's moving all of her stuff out. My sister also expressed to me that she was fearful that she would not make it to the divorce and that her life would be taken from her.
Foreshadowing.
And her brother, Nathaniel Francis, said something very, very similar to his sister. So I think they were all on high alert with this whole thing. A friend of Mica said that multiple times a week she spoke to her, like that the week before she died, and that her final text to her on that Friday night was not a woman about to die, but a woman making plans to live.
Yeah.
She'd gotten her own apartment despite losing all of her stuff and all the things he was doing. She's getting her life in order, seeking therapy, doing all the stuff. Mica's sister says in a court document that Mica told her, if I end up with a bullet in my head, it was not me, it was JP. Those were her words, according to her sister. So what really happened to Mica is the question. And we're not the only ones asking that question. It turns out investigators did seem to do their due diligence, conducting several interviews, pulling together a timeline of events related to Mica's movements the day she died. And this is where the whole thing's interesting, but this gets really interesting. So we're going to go from on Saturday, April 27th of 24, the day of, and we're going to go through and just follow me.
Okay.
Okay, and jump in if anything's confusing.
Okay.
All right, so 11 a.m., Mica is seen on her Ring door camera
Okay.
coming home to her new apartment in Myrtle Beach. 38 minutes later, she's seen leaving her apartment. 12:12, she's caught on video surveillance entering a pawn shop and purchasing a gun and ammunition. I will come back to that. 12:34, she's on video surveillance leaving the pawn shop. 1:27, she's observed arriving at a convenience store where she buys a drink. She puts gas in her car. Okay. Doesn't sound like someone ready to... Anyway, she leaves the station at 1:35. At 2:54, this is when the 911 call comes in. Robeson County, remember, Mica's found in a park in a different state, 32.7 miles away, 41 minutes away from this gas station. And just to recap and spare you from having to listen to the 911 call again, the call was made from an 843 area code number, so not that area code.
Okay. Yeah.
She asked if her phone could be located and then threatened suicide. Mica hung up the phone before further information could be gathered by dispatch. And then the dispatcher tried to call Mica back multiple times but was unable to make contact. Okay, so let's fast forward to 3:03. Robeson County deputies were dispatched to the Lumber River State Park for a welfare check and attempt to locate Mica. 3:20, they request to ping her phone. 3:31, they begin searching for her. 3:33, they deployed drones to assist with their search overhead. 3:42, dispatchers contacted Verizon to request an updated location ping on her cell phone because they're assuming she still has it near her.
Yeah.
3:50, detectives with the drones arrived and are ready to get busy with that. So while the aerial search was occurring, a person approached them at the park, saying that he'd found a bag in the park while he was fishing, and inside that bag was Mica's ID. The person said he'd heard crying, and then he heard a gunshot, And he went further into the bog towards the sound where he found the bag about 2 feet from the water's edge.
Okay.
Okay. Now, this seems off to me because if you're planning on shooting yourself and you're saying you want to be sure your family can find your body, which is what she said on the 911 call, you don't shoot yourself in a, number one, hard to get to marsh,
Yeah.
off the beaten path, like way off the beaten path, or two, have your bag with your ID way away from your body. That doesn't make any sense. That seems to me very inconsistent with what we heard her say on that 911 call, which was, I want my family to be able to find my body.
Yeah.
So that just doesn't shake out to me. 423, a second individual called 911 and said that he had located a body in the water. He'd been fishing on a kayak when he found the body. Keep in mind, this is really stagnant water. It's not a flowing river. It's not like it's a bog. It's a marsh. It's not moving. So
Okay.
she's away from her ID. The body probably wasn't going to flow anywhere. So just the crime scene spread just doesn't make sense. 554, detectives and a medical examiner arrive and they begin assessing the scene. They find the Sig Sauer gun case in the passenger seat of Mica's car, the one presumably she bought at the pawn shop, because they found the receipts too, had the box of ammo, both dated that day of her death. They found the gun in the water at the crime scene,
Okay.
did match the gun box that was found in her car,
Okay.
but the gun wasn't found until 7:11 p.m. So let's back up. Her body was found, well, by the second individual at 423. It took a non-moving water that much longer to find the gun.
Right.
So again, it's just weird, something that stood out to me.
3 hours or
Yeah.
more.
So that's all the day of. We're going to jump to May 2nd real quick. John Paul goes on WPDE News for an interview, saying nice things about Mica, but then turning it to the topic of mental health. So he says, quote, she was probably the greatest wife anyone could ask for. And then goes on to say, so over the years since we've been married, some people struggle with high blood pressure, some people struggle with diabetes or struggle with mental health. And whenever she stayed on her lithium, things were amazing. She'd come off sometimes and things would get a little unusual. Per her doctors, they told her even recently that she was homicidal or suicidal. And just as high as someone can go up, they can go down just as low. And so the highs, you can see on the film, but all the lows were a lot of times behind closed doors, conveniently. And she had struggled with suicide before, and each time we helped her through it and took her to the doctor, and we got through it and everything was fine. She even gave a few testimonials here at church we have on video of times where she had battled suicide, but God took care of her and got her through it. And so this past time, it's still a shock, an incredible shock. It's worth noting that although John Paul said Mica died by suicide, at this time, the medical examiner had not released her manner of death yet.
Oh.
Yeah. I hope that gets him. If it's him, I hope it gets him. Okay, also on May 3rd, a probate court in Horry County named Mica's sister Sierra Francis special administrator of Mica's estate. May 5th, some in Mica's family dispute her manner of death described by her estranged husband.
Oh.
John Paul holds a memorial service at the Solid Rock Church, while at the same time her family hosts a separate celebration of life in Myrtle Beach. May 6th, medical examiner releases Mica's cause of death, ruling it a suicide. A statement by Dr. Richard Johnson, the Robeson County ME, said it was not in the back of the head as it had been speculated. Don't know what that means. May 7th, Mica Miller's family meets with Robeson County deputies to discuss their investigative findings. Deputies also extend an invitation to Mica's estranged husband, John Paul. However, he asked them to meet him in South Carolina. Sheriff Bernice Wilkins said, hey, we don't plan to travel to South Carolina, so he said, well, never mind then. May 10th, John Paul files a petition in Horry County Probate Court for a formal appointment so that he can be the fiduciary of Mica's estate. So now there's this thing going on between him and Mica's sister. May 13th, Robeson County Sheriff's Office released a statement that they requested assistance from the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI in South Carolina in her investigation. The full statement reads, the Robeson County Sheriff's Office has been in contact with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in South Carolina since the early stages of the Mica Miller investigation. Based on the information gathered during the investigation and jurisdiction reasons, the Sheriff's Office has requested the assistance of both agencies. No other information will be released at this time. Anyone with information pertaining to the Miller investigation in South Carolina is asked to contact the Columbia, South Carolina FBI office at, and they give a number. So it just sounds curious again.
Yeah, they seem suspicious still, too. Like it was not an open and shut case a year ago. And yeah.
Just wait. Just wait. Further examination of Mica's phone uncovered a recent Google search for national parks near me, which had listed this Lumber River State Park as a result. Think back to that 911 call, though. When she called them, she did not know where she was.
Mm-hmm. No, she did not.
So did that search get done after she died?
Oh.
As a little...
Wouldn't they be able to see that, though?
I mean, they don't know exact moment, like exact second she got shot. So
True.
if someone did that and you did a search real quick.
True. Nope,
know?
You're right. Yeah.
And it gets weirder. So remember me saying that her sisters had filed an affidavit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In that document, they speak to possible cell phone data that to them would serve as proof that John Paul was threatening Mica. They also say that in the weeks leading up to her death, she was getting all of her ducks in a row to expose her husband and that she was fearful that something really bad was going to happen to her as a result of it.
Yeah.
Anna Francis, one of Mica's 4 sisters, said she was finally ready to do the right thing and not be silent anymore. She was finally to the point where she even told our family, you don't have to be silent anymore.
Oh. Wow.
Her sisters also mentioned the convenience store video footage and believed that Mica had been lured there. They also theorized that there was no way Mica would purchase an expensive weapon. I mean, it was like $500 that she didn't have because he was, moving all the assets out of her name just to shoot herself.
Right.
They just don't think there's any way she would have done that.
It's also, isn't that sort of an unusual way, like statistically,
For women?
don't usually do that. Not that they can't, because some do.
Right.
But it is also kind of an unusual piece of this puzzle.
So her sisters believe that a gun of that caliber is the kind you buy for protection.
Oh, fair.
Not self-harm.
Mm-hmm.
They also said there were bruises on her hand and other injuries inconsistent with suicide by gun.
Okay.
A husband-wife set of close friends of Mica's said that they saw her the day before she died and that for them things aren't just are not adding up either. They said her killing herself does not comport with the things she talked to them about. They said Mica would go back to John Paul again and again because of the church and accuse John Paul of being the worst kind of narcissist with a very twisted mind. She was scared, the friends share of Mica. You could tell she was just scared about everything. She looked us in the eye and she said, I'm scared, but I want to live. And recalling those words is what makes them believe she did not kill herself and was instead afraid for her life at the hands of someone else.
Well, and I think it could be interpreted too as I want my life back.
Yeah.
Like I've been held captive
Yes.
in a variety of ways and I am ready to have some freedom again.
Right.
That's what I hear in those statements.
Was she married 8 years to him?
Something like that,
Yeah.
I think.
Just no peace that whole time. That'd be so hard. This couple said that they believed Mica had been showing signs of becoming like more and more resolved to leaving him for good. And that by the second week of March, she had turned the page and she had started dreaming about a new life. The pair had spent time with Mica 2 days before her death. They told her how proud of her they were and spoke to how far she'd come, taking her power back from this much older and completely controlling POS who'd been grooming her since she was a child. They said Mica was proud of herself too.
Oh.
Because that takes so much courage
Yes,
to leave
it
that,
does.
especially with that age discrepancy and that power discrepancy. And he's the pastor of your church, and you're so heavily invested in that church. It just makes things so much more difficult. But perhaps the strangest thing for me that makes me question suicide is the location of her death. We've already talked about her demeanor the day of, just normal errands, buying a weapon, presumably for protection. I think her sisters were onto something with that. We've also talked about the fact that she searched for the state park, presumably. Yet when she called 911, she didn't know where she was at. And when I talk about the terrain, which I did a little bit, we're talking an extensive hike through a stretch of knee-deep backcountry stagnant water.
Ew.
She wouldn't do that to her family. Through mud, over fallen trees. And
Mosquitoes.
she wanted her family to be able to find her. So why go through all that trouble trying to find a park she was unfamiliar with, and they'd probably be unfamiliar with too, just to make it
would agree. That's very
grueling journey for her to get to her body? She loved her family. So it just doesn't seem plausible that she would have concocted this plan up on her own to, have her friends and family try to find her that way. Her father thinks the scene was staged and that her death was a premeditated murder. And remember, I talked about the water being stagnant, but her belongings were found away from her body, as was the gun.
Yeah,
How does
weird.
that happen?
Yeah.
How did her body get to where it was if it couldn't float quickly or easily? There were also discrepancies.
Well, and it's heavy. I mean, there's some weight to it. So it's not like a leaf that, can drift.
Right. Blow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does seem odd.
There were also discrepancies, I don't know if I mentioned this, between where her body was found and where the shell casings were located.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think you said that earlier.
Yep.
Also very strange.
I know. This is why I don't understand the Emmys saying suicide. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not an investigator, but I just don't get it. The shell casings were found on the bank near her belongings, while the gun was found in the water, and then her body was 40 meters away.
Am I allowed to ask, where is JP in the timeline?
I'll get to that.
Okay. I figured as much, but I'm getting a little anxious.
Well, family was so disturbed by this, saying, if she did this, this is not where she would go, and her body didn't float. They actually went and took video of the water to show that it doesn't flow.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they're doing everything they can to say, investigators, please pay attention to this.
They're doing their own science
They
experiments.
really believe she was placed there, or dragged there, shot, but that she was placed there. Another friend, Angela Clark, who was one of the last people to speak with Mica, said that the night before she died, they'd made plans to meet at Mica's new church. Angela was going to help Mica with her car payment since JP had confiscated her other vehicle and moved assets to where she couldn't get to them. And she says, quote, "This is not somebody that's ready to end their life. This is somebody that's making plans for the weekend, and we're getting her car payment made. Why do you worry about getting your car payment made? For that matter, why do you pay a lawyer $5,000 and file for divorce and have someone served?"
Yeah.
She said there are
If you had a different end in mind.
Right. Like if she'd given up, why do all these hard things? Because these are not easy things.
Right.
Coming up with the money when you have all your resources taken away from you, filing for divorce, serving someone, knowing that that person is very volatile and reactive. These are all terrifying things, but she's doing them because she's trying to reclaim her power and her life. But Angela says there's so many unanswered questions. I can't wrap my brain around it. None of it. There's just so much that does not make sense. So that is the day of all the stuff and around there, as far as some of the things that make me suspicious that maybe suicide was the wrong call. So in next week for the final episode, we're going to dig into the backstory of JP and his father.
Okay.
Remember, we've talked about that. Allison brought that up in episode 1. And we're going to talk about everything Mica's families learned when they read her journals. Why they're pushing Mica's list. It's a framework to expand the definition of domestic violence to include some of these behaviors JP, exhibited. So we'll talk about all of that in the last part of this series.
Well, you're leaving me hanging, but I'll be okay.
I'm sorry. There's just so many questions, and I tried to pare it down because there's even more than this, but it's just. It gets hard when it's like at this time and this time and just, the microscopic stuff. But so I tried to just narrow it down as much as possible to demonstrate to me those things that do point to some of the biggest questions and not have them bogged down so much.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was clear.
Yeah. No, I think so.
My brain is such a mess that to me it's not clear. It was clear when I wrote it. Today it's not, but that's more a symptom of I need it. Can we do a brain transplant?
I feel like we've talked about this before.
Have we?
I don't think you actually want to test that theory.
I don't know. It sounds like a good idea.
What we can do is take a quick break.
Okay.
We have a contest for our listeners. You can hear more about it now.
Hey, escape artists, grab your Traumedy Nerd hats. Spring is here, and we're blooming with some fun.
Drum roll, please. I love it. Introducing the Escape Pod Spring Trivia Challenge. It's your chance to flex those survivor smarts and snag some swag.
Starting May 14th, we're dropping weekly trivia questions from our wildest escape stories.
We'll post each week on our Facebook page at escapepod.traumedy. Answer correctly in the comments, tag a friend, and bam, you're getting a free Escape Pod sticker.
These aren't just stickers, Julie.
They are not.
Badges of honor.
So tune in, hit up at escapepod.traumedy on Facebook, and show us your escape IQ. Good luck. Welcome back into the Escape Pod, everybody. Again, I'm Julie here with Charity. We just wrapped up the third installment of our series about Mica Miller, calling it Blind Faith. It's a tough one to listen to, for sure. So we're going to lighten things up. Something you would like to escape to, ma'am?
Well, you've looked at the weather.
It's lovely.
Forecast.
The forecast is amazing.
90 degrees this weekend. Hallelujah. I am so happy. The patio furniture is going out. Sunday is Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mother.
Yes.
So while I do have to entertain my mother-in-law, I'm going to be doing it my style. So there is going to be pina coladas or some cold fruity beverage sitting on my deck out in the sunshine, and I cannot wait.
I love it. That
get all the
sounds
chores done on
lovely.
Saturday because I'm so behind at my house.
Same.
Do all that, and then Sunday I'm just going to be like, peace out.
Yeah.
Put a fruity drink in my hand.
Do it.
Yeah.
Well, I am escaping the PTA presidency.
Oh my God.
Where is it? Yes.
Julie.
I know. Are you proud of me?
I am very proud of you. This is big.
Well, it's 4 years coming. No, just kidding. I said it before. I do love it. There's things I love about it, but there are moments when it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so happily handing over the reins to an incredibly capable mom and woman, and she will be amazing. And we have a great group. And I keep saying, she looked at me one day and said, "You're not leaving me, are you? Because I do have a kiddo at the school for another year." And I said, "No, I am happy to help you. But I am super grateful to be not in a leadership role for my final year there." So pretty excited about that. But I have
What are you going to do with all that free time?
probably 5 hours left in that role. So amen. Exactly. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We are so grateful for every one of you. The Escape Pod is a labor of love. We're on a mission to grow this podcast so we can pour more resources into One Heart in Rapid City, South Dakota, a nonprofit where every dollar empowers people to break free from crisis and reclaim their lives. More listeners, more downloads, more impact.
I wish we could just put through the airwaves the true impact and people could feel that.
Yeah.
It is so powerful, but we
Yeah.
really, really, really are a podcast for a cause. And here's where you come in. You can become a patron at escapepod.live. $2 a month makes a big difference.
Yeah.
$5 a month, $10 a month. With that, you would unlock bonus content, uncensored escape tales, behind the scenes laughs with Julie and Charity. But you also can just unlock the warm fuzzies of knowing that you're funding real life breakouts. It's a win-win. And for just a few bucks a month, you're not just a listener, you're a hero in the story of the lives of the people we're serving.
Downloading episodes beats streaming every time. It boosts our stats, pulls in more ad revenue, and helps us climb the charts so we can reach more ears. So share us with a friend, rate and review wherever you listen, and hit that download button, please. It is a tiny click with a massive impact.
That's right. We really want to hear from you. We really, really do. I promise we do. Connect with us at escapepod.live. You can follow us on our socials. Drop us a note. Maybe you have an idea about a future episode just because at escapepod.live, or send your wild escape stories. I mean, how many have I given? I've been hanging out of a car with a guy with a gun, hanging out with motorcycle gangs, all the stuff. Like, I cannot be the only person. Please,
No, you are
please,
not.
I don't want to be alone. Please send me your escape stories at escapeartist@escapepod.live. And we have been hard at work developing bonus content.
Yeah.
There's a contest that launched this month, gated content, weekly mini-sodes. We've heard you. We're ramping up our content. So buckle up.
For now, though, we're sealing the hatch on this episode of the Escape Pod. Remember, trauma may be inevitable. How you grapple with it is optional. So stay resilient.
And keep questioning the medical examiners.
And keep laughing. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.